Just so you know, we did a similar webinar this past February with reports. We had such a, on everybody's hot list, we decided to do it again, but I've changed it up to include automatic reports as well. So the first portion of this, if you did sit in on the one in February, is going to be similar to you, but I'm going to change it up towards the end to do something different with reports, and that is running automatic reports. And like I said, we just have gotten a lot of calls about, it's a hot topic, let's say, reports are. And it's not just reports. Everybody knows that AutoCAD Electrical has report capability in there. It's getting down to the details on how to configure your reports, especially when it comes time to place them back into a drawing and the multiple choices we have when you do place them onto a drawing. So I'm just in a regular small project right now. I've got some schematics, panel drawings, some fluid power drawings. I created a subfolder called reports. Got a couple of blank drawings in here. And I'm going to start by going to the reports command. And some of you might know already that when you go to the reports tab up top, you have a reports command on the schematic panel. You also have a reports command on the panel. They do separate them. The functionality I'm going to show you applies to all reports. I don't care if it's a schematic report or a panel report. And as an example, let's say I go to PLCIO component connection report for a schematic report. And I'm going to look at the whole project. I'm going to pick OK here. Process all my drawings. And here is a complete report of everything I just requested. And to start with, and this is one of the reasons why I like AutoCAD Electrical as far as the report capability is concerned, is the ability to change the format. And when I say format, right now, I'm showing a PLC wire number, a tag, an address, a couple descriptions here, terminal number. If I pick change report format in the lower right corner down here, these are all the fields, other fields that are available that I can incorporate into my report. Here's the fields I'm choosing to report on right now. So I could add fields, I could remove fields, I can move them up and down the list so the report comes out, differently. You can even change the name of the heading on the report. And that's very important because everybody's report is going to be a little bit different. Everybody might run a PLCIO report, but the fields that you report on could be different than somebody else. And what I like about this is I can stay right inside the software, configure the report how I want to configure it. And I don't have to exit the software to do that. I don't have to open up a database to do that. I stay right inside the software. And as an example, let's say I want to add more descriptions to this. So let's say I put all 5 descriptions that you have available for a PLC module. So now I have the same thing, except I added descriptions C, D, and E. I want to change it back. I select it here, remove it. I'll remove this one. And now I'm back to descriptions A, B, and C. And I'm going to further elaborate on that later on. Now, once you get the report configured the way that you want to configure it, what do you want to do with it? We can save it to a file, or we can put it back onto a drawing. When I save it to a file, I can save it to any of these popular file formats. I'll choose an Excel spreadsheet. I navigate to where I want to store it. Save it. You can include your own custom post-process script utility if you choose. So right now, I've got this same report in an Excel spreadsheet. That's pretty straightforward as far as how that operates. Now, when I choose put on drawing, a lot of this is tied to your table style, which I'm going to talk about shortly as well. But I want to insert this into my drawing. And as you can see right now, this will include 130 rows. The table style I'm choosing is the default 1/8 inch in this example. I'll pick OK. And I'll just drag and drop it to the top left corner. Drop it into my drawing. I'll close this out. And as you can see here, first of all, it didn't fit on this drawing. I'm going to show you how to correct that shortly as well. But the main point I wanted to make here, notice the text size is 0.1. Make a mental note of that. The justification is set to top left. If I pick on the second one over, text size still 0.1, justification here, top right. Now I'm going to go back and update this report, but I'm going to use a different table. Oh, didn't want that. Hold on a minute. I have to say project. I'll do all the drawings again. And I'll go right back to put on drawing. And this time I'm going to choose this ACE Table 1 table style. Whoop. And oh, by the way, when you pick your list, it's going to be different than mine. I've added some custom tables, which I'm going to show you how to do very shortly as well, called panel PLCIO, and I got a test one down here. Always have a test one going on. All the other ones are right out of the box, which you will have anytime you want to insert a table back onto a drawing or a report, if you will. So this time I'm going to choose the ACE Table 1 right here. And I've already inserted it, so I'm just going to leave it on Update Existing, pick OK. Close here, and look at the appearance of the table now. A lot bigger. And the reason for that is, once again, let me take a look at. Notice the set text size is set to 0.25. Justification still top left. So that's determined by the table that you choose. Text size is a big one. I'm going to do it one more time. Once again, let's go to project. Do all the drawings. And this time I'm going to choose the standard table to put it back onto a drawing. And you're going to see the difference here. I'm sorry, not the panel table, standard table. And look at the difference in the table here. This time, the text size is set to 0.18. So you can see what's very important here, which, you know, this part is not real intuitive as far as the software is concerned. Text size, in turn, the size of your table that you're going to insert is determined by the table style in the drawing. So how do you create your own? How do you see what the properties are set for the existing table styles that are available? I'm going to go to my open drawing, my regular AutoCAD open drawing command right here. And there is a file called tablestyle.dwg. It's located in this position. This is out of the box when you install the software. You go to users, the name of your computer, app data, so on and so forth, all the way down to support. This tablestyle.dwg drawing is actually part of the WD_M invisible block that goes with every single AutoCAD Electrical drawing. And it has built-in layers, it has built-in settings. It basically makes the software or your drawing AutoCAD Electrical friendly or compliant, if you will. So if you want to create your own custom table styles, you open up this tablestyle.dwg file. And if I go to my home tab and I go to my annotation here, I'm going to go to the manage table styles. Hence, when I hit my drop-down menu, here's the list. Now, in order to create a new one, which I'll do shortly, you would hit the new button. It would take a copy of your current one, and then you usually make modifications to it. I'm going to hit modify right here just to show you what goes into a table. And we have for cell styles a title, a header, and data. For most of the reports inside of AutoCAD Electrical, they deal with the data and the headers. You could add a title if you wanted to. But if you look at the preview here, down here, here's all your data. Both the data and the header has a general tab, a text tab, and borders tab. So if I go to the general tab, you can set up fill colors. Notice the text alignment. Make a mental note of this, is set to top center. You can format the text style that you want to place in here, or the format, I'm sorry. And a lot of this stuff is very similar to an Excel spreadsheet. If I go to the text tab, you could use a different text style. If it's not already created, you could automatically go to the text style manager and create one and use that one. There's the text height right there. That's the biggest feature of, I don't want to say the biggest feature, but it's one of the most important aspects of your table when you go to use it inside of AutoCAD Electrical, because it's going to determine the physical size of it. Not just the text height, but the overall table itself. You could use different colors if you wanted to. You could change the angle. In the general here, you could choose a fill color as well. And then you have borders. just like with an Excel spreadsheet. If I go to the header one, it's all the same rules that apply. This would be to the heading, basically the column name inside of a AutoCAD Electrical report. And all the same rules apply. I could fill in a fill color. Here's your alignment once again. Text format, text size, it's all the same for each category. If I pick OK here, and I select the ACE table 1 and pick modify, remember the text size was much bigger in that one. And that's because the table style that it's using is using a bigger text type. And the same would hold true with the standard one that I inserted. Now here's one that I created, PLC-IO. And if I pick modify here, my standard for text size in any AutoCAD drawing is 0.125. That's why I filled in 0.125 here for both the data and the header. Now, one thing I changed with the header is I gave it a fill color of yellow, which you can obviously do as well. So these, and I'm going to create a new one shortly here, but this is how you dictate all your tables. This is how you create them. This is how you apply them inside of AutoCAD Electrical. So I'm going to close this out. I'm going to go back to my reports here. And then this time, I'll run the reports, same report. And I'll choose the one that I created for this, which is the PLC-IO one. Pick OK. Close this out. And now you can see that text size 0.125. Justification set to top left. Real quick, we got top left on the one. Top right on that one. If I go back to the table drawing and I go back to my manager, and I go to the PLC-IO and I pick modify, notice the alignment I have right now is middle center. It means nothing inside of an AutoCAD Electrical report. So the table style basically controls everything except the alignment. That is controlled. If I go back to my report here, that's controlled by the format once again. Just like when I added a field or I removed a field, we go to change report format, and it's all controlled by right here. And this drove me nuts. When I first started using the software, I'm like, okay, I built it into the table with a specific justification or alignment, but when I go to insert it, it's still not coming in that way. Why? Well, when I found out that this is where that is controlled. So like for the first field, I'll change this. Let's say to middle left. For the tag, I'm going to change it to middle center. For the address, I'll change it back to middle left. Descriptions, I'll change this. Well, I'll leave it the same just to save some time here. Terminal, maybe I change this to middle right. Now, when I pick OK, it's hard to see, but you can actually see the results right in the preview. Now, when I pick put on drawing, I'll use the same style and I'll pick OK. Close this down. Now, as you can see, the first column there, let me zoom in on it a little bit closer. Now it's set to middle left, which I dictated in the change report format. Next one, middle center, so on and so forth. So if you didn't know that, it can be a little confusing as to, okay, how are they actually determining what these alignments / justifications are? It's all done in the change report format. Now, another big issue here is, okay, I got the report, I got the table I want, I got it set up the way I want. What's the proper way when you have a situation like this where the report doesn't fit in the drawing? I got to break it up. Well, in order to do that, I'll go back to reports. I'll pick on the same one. Do all of these to process. Now I'll go back to put on drawing. And this I will admit, as I've said, or if anybody's ever had any contact with me, talk to me, whatever, I always say that I love the report generation inside of AutoCAD Electrical. Now, one, and it's not a negative, a little bit of a time investment you might have to make in the beginning here is sometimes it takes a little bit of trial and error as far as when you do break a report up. How many rows can you fit inside of your title block? How many sections, according to the format, can you fit inside of a title block or drawing? So sometimes you got to play with the numbers a little bit so you get it the way you want. So as an example, if I want to break this up, I've got 130 rows. I'm going to type in, let's break this up, 65 rows. As soon as I hit enter, the section definition allows me to access it. Now it's not grayed out. I'll say, give me 2 sections on the drawing. And for the X distance, I'm going to type in 0.5. And for the Y distance, I'm going to type in 20. And I'll pick OK again. Close this out. Now I got 2 sections. And this is the trial and error that I was just referring to. My Y distance is not correct. It's close, but it's not correct. My X distance is fine. So in this case, and this is what I was saying, it takes a little bit of trial and error until you get it down. A little slow today. Usually that happens a lot quicker. So I'll go back to put on drawing. In this time, I'm going to change the Y distance to 18.5. 875. Pick OK. Close. And as you can see now, they line up perfectly. And obviously, you know, I typed in 18.875, but I tested that ahead of time just to make sure I had it down correctly. Because again, sometimes, you know, when you plug the first one in and it wasn't right, you plug the second one in, it still might not be right. So you gotta, again, tweak those numbers. What can you fit inside your title block is the biggest thing. Now, in the same sense, let me go to the next drawing here. Let's say you had a report that spanned multiple drawings. So I'm going to go to reports, and this time I'm going to pick a from to. I'll do it for the whole project. I'll select OK. I'll do all the drawings. Now, in this case, I didn't have a table designated for a from to report because depending on what it is you're trying to report on, you know, that's where you create the different reports. So if I go back to put on drawing, I still have the same reports. So let me cancel out of here, and I'm going to show you how to create a new table style. I'll go back to that table style drawing. I'll go back to my home tab here, and I'm going to go to my annotation once again. And I'm going to keep this simple. I'll make it similar to the PLCIO one. But when you want to create a new one, you will pick an existing one and create it off of that. Kind of like a text style or a dimension style. I'm going to pick new. It's going to take a copy of the PLCIO. I'll call this one from to continue. And just to save some time here, the only thing I'm going to change is the fill color. I'll make it cyan. But once again, I could change the text height. I could change the borders, what have you. I pick OK. Close here. Now, as soon as I go back to my drawing and I go back to the reports from to, do all the drawings. Include everything. Now you're going to see when I go to put on drawing that that new table will be available. So now when I select put on drawing, I'm going to choose my new from to table style. And you can see it happens instantly. I still have that table style drawing open. I didn't even save it yet, but I immediately see the results back inside of AutoCAD Electrical. Now this has 361 rows. That's why I chose it for this example. I've pre-plugged in where it's going to go. X dimension 0.5, Y dimension 22. I'm going to say that I'm going to have 65 rows here. I'll go with 2 sections again. And then this time for the X distance, I'm going to type in 2. And for the Y distance, I'll use that same 18.875 that I used previously. So now I'll pick OK. And as you can see, I can fit 2 sections on this drawing. I've already plugged the numbers in that I knew I wanted to use, but it ran out of space. What do you want to do next? I could ignore this if I did have a little bit more space and put another section on this drawing. I'm going to choose to create a new drawing. You could select a different drawing from the active project or any drawing from that matter. I want it for me to create a new drawing. I'll pick OK. And it's going to default to the same folder, same project. This already has 15 drawings in it. So it's automatically defaulting to the next new drawing. And then you just got to make sure that you choose the correct template that you want to use for it to create your new drawing. Mine is in my Hagerman template here. I'll choose a blank one. And I pick OK. Creates a brand new drawing. In this case, puts the 2 next sections in there. I go to new drawing again. It's going to use the same template. It bumps the DWG file up by 1. I want to leave that the same. I could change it. And then it finally was able to finish it. And if I go back, and now if I go to my project manager, you can see down at the bottom here, it created 2 new drawings. Now another tidbit, and this drove me nuts in the beginning too. One time I placed the report down and in this case, color is yellow. But when I place this one down, it's straight up black and white. Why is that? It's all simple AutoCAD stuff. If I go to the Home tab up top, the table is defaulting to the miscellaneous layer. Now the template that I chose to create the drawing, the miscellaneous layer is set to yellow. In the previous drawing, I had already changed the color. So this is something to keep in mind, that whatever drawing you're using to create new drawings, especially if it's, for a report and you want it to land as a different color inside of a new drawing, it's all just straight up AutoCAD, change the color inside the layer of the miscellaneous layer. Now at the same time, you could also inside that template create a new layer for the reports. Now it will automatically place it on the miscellaneous layer because AutoCAD Electrical needs to, but you could easily move it just like any other object from one layer to another. So if that ever drives you nuts, I insert it in one drawing, it's one color. I insert it in another and it's another color. It's because the layer color is different for that miscellaneous layer in those drawings. Now, the next thing I'm going to talk about are set files. And set files are used when you have multiple formats of the same report, and you can use them in automatic reports. So as an example, if I go back to the reports tab, and I'll run a panel report this time, like a bill of material. I'll pick OK here. And just as an example, once again, I'm showing item, tag, quantity, manufacturer, catalog, description. And let's say in-house, I'll use an example. This could be an in-house decision, or it could be dictated by your customer. So let's say when you run a bill of material for the customer. This is what you want to show them. But you run the same bill of material in-house. When you run it in-house, maybe you want to add the user one field, which is usually designated for an intra-company catalog number in the parts database. And maybe you want to throw a sheet number down here as well. So I pick OK. And now my bill of material reflects that. Now the problem is, if I close this down, it's not really a problem, it's just how it works. Let's say I go back and I run the same report. When I go to change report format, or I don't even have to go there, you can see whatever the fields you're reporting on will default to your last setup. Always, always, always. So as an example, maybe I want to go back to what the bill of, the customer bill of material, what I sent them. So I would have to go back to change report format, remove the user one, remove the sheet number. So each time, and you might have more than just two formats of the same report that you run. So instead of having to constantly go back and forth between them, you can save the format to what we call a set file. And I'm going to hit my browse button here, and I'm going to browse once again to the project folder here, and it's called bompnl.set. I'll throw, just to keep it simple, an _1 on it, and I'll pick save. Now I'll go back to change report format, and I'll get rid of the user one in the sheet number. And now I'll pick, okay, save as once again. I'll browse out to that same folder. And I'll call this set file _2 and save it and pick OK. Close it out. Now when I go back to reports, before I run it, I'm going to pick format here. And I'll browse out to the folder where I just saved the set files. I picked the first one. And as you can see, when I run it this time, it includes the user one in the sheet number. If I run it again, wrong one, hold on, bill of material panel. If I run it again, and I choose the other set file that I created, I keep going there. So now notice the user one isn't there and the sheet isn't there. So you don't have to constantly go back to change report format if you do have different formats of the same report. Because sometimes, I'm old, but I don't even remember sometimes what one format should have been versus another format. This way you can save the formats. Again, this could be internal or it could be customer driven. Now, also with set files, we have a feature for automatic report generation. but before you can get there, you have to create set files for the output of the report. These set files act a little bit different than the ones that I just saved. So if I go to report format setup right here, and let's say I want to run, well, I'll just leave it on connector plug, or actually I'll go back to from to. And basically what you do in the format setup is you act just like you were going to run the report, except you're actually not going to run it. You're going to save all the settings to a format file. So essentially for the from to, I'm going to say save report to file. I'll choose an Excel spreadsheet, just like if I was going to run the report itself. And I'll browse out to, once again, my project folder here. And I'll call this from to. Save it, click OK. Now it didn't save it right now. It saved the setting to save it to an Excel spreadsheet, but I don't have the spreadsheet in my folder right now. I'm going to pick the save as format file. And once again, I'll put it in the same folder. And I'll call the set file the same thing as I did the spreadsheet, from to. Now maybe I want to run a connector plug report. And you can still change the report fields right here if you needed to. And then this time, let's say I want to put it onto a drawing. And I'll just leave all the defaults. Well, actually, no, can't do that. For the X dimension, it's got to know where to go. I'm going to type in, let's say 2 for the X value, 20 for the Y value. And I'll choose I'll just leave it on this default table. Well, actually, I'll use my PLC one, my 0.125 text height that I like. And I'll pick OK. Once again, it didn't actually create, or notice I'm not inserting the report right now. I'm setting it up to be put onto a drawing. So I'm going to pick the save as format file once again. And I'll call this one con plug set file. And then I'll do one more. I'll do a connector detail. Now this time, I'm going to do both as far as the output is concerned. I'm going to save it to a file. And for the Excel spreadsheet, I'll call it on detail. And I'll pick save. Okay, now I'm going to not pick save as format file yet because I'm going to put this onto a drawing as well. And I'll go with the same placement of it. And I'll pick my PLCIO table style as well, because you can use any table style in any report. I just happen to have this one, you know, with the 0.125 text height. I'll pick OK here. Now I'm going to pick save as format file. And I'll call it the same thing that I did the Excel spreadsheet. On detail. And I'll pick save. And now I'm done. Now I'm going to go to the automatic report command. And what you do here is I just created all those set files. I'm going to take those set files and I'm going to put them into a group. And then I'm going to run the group at the same time. So the first thing I'm going to do is point to the folder where I saved all my set files. So now if I go to the from to, here's the set file that I just created. I'll add it to the group. Here's the connector plug. Here's the set file I created for it. I'll add it to the group. And then I got my connector summary, or connector detail, I'm sorry. And I'll add it to the group. And you can see it puts an X underneath the output that I just determined when I created the set file. So the from to is going to go to a file. I chose an Excel spreadsheet. The connector plug, I want that onto a drawing. The connector detail, I want to do both. And then you would normally save the report grouping. So that way, next project comes around, you want to run the same reports, you just open up the grouping and you're done. It's not like you have to recreate the set file. It's not like you have to recreate the group. So I'll just call this, we'll use the same theme, reports. Then, since it is going to create a couple drawings for me, I got to tell it what the file name is going to be. So I'll say this time 18. And then I got to choose a template again for it to create these drawings. And my template is right here. So now when I pick OK right here, it's going to create two spreadsheets. It's going to create two new drawings and put a different report on each drawing all at the same time. And the people that run the automatic reports, because sometimes I show this to people and they get confused and they'll say, well, why do I need that? I'm perfectly fine with running one report at a time. And my answer is, that's fine. This is just another, tool that you have available. And the people that I see it using it the most are the ones that, they find themselves running the same reports, especially at the end of the project, every single time. I run a bill of material. I put it onto a drawing. I run a connector. I save it to an Excel spreadsheet. I run a wire label report. That goes to an Excel spreadsheet. You find yourself running the same reports with the same outputs for every single project, usually at the end of the project. This is the people that take advantage of the automatic reports, or the ones that can, if you will. That doesn't mean that those same people that use automatic reports don't run reports throughout the design process. At any time, you can run a report one at a time. So again, this is for the people that find themselves running the same reports with the same formats and the same output. Again, usually it's at the end of a project. So as you can see here, it created this drawing. It created this drawing, both with reports on them. if I open up Windows Explorer and I go to that folder, it just created this spreadsheet and this spreadsheet at the same time. And that's the biggest thing that we did different in this webinar that we didn't do at all in the previous one. But manipulating that data, that's the only part that might take you a little bit of a time investment, you know, basically to get all your numbers down, get tables created that you want to use with your text heights and anything else that you want to do to it. So in the beginning, it'll take a little bit of time investment, but in the same sense, once you get everything nailed down the way you want it, you own it for life. And you can use the same, you know, set files. You can use the same report formatting. You can use the same. The only thing that's a little bit of a pain in the neck, and that I will admit, if I do go and let's say place one onto a drawing, like I'll go back to the PLCIO. Oh, let's do project again. So the only thing I wish they had in here, hopefully they will someday, is when you do go to put on drawing, you know, it's defaulting to the last number of rows that I use, the sections, the distance, so on and so forth. I can't save these settings for each report. So this is one that what I usually do, a little bit old fashioned, you know, I'll take a screen capture of this table generation setup for one particular report, including, you know, the table style that I want to use, put it in a Word document, you know, some type of electronic file, so you can record, because it will be different, obviously, for each report. It will default back each time to whatever the last numbers you plugged in for each report, but sometimes you might have to change it. So make a recording of, once you get it nailed down, as far as how many rows you can put in a drawing, and then your section definition. Because unlike when you go to the change format, you can actually save these in the set file, as I already showed you. Okay. I guess we're at the point now. Is there any questions?
Greg, this is Julia. We do have a couple. Let's see. First is Mark would like to know, when you run a report and put a table, is that table using an external Excel file, or is it using the data within the drawings? I believe it's the data within the drawings.
Yeah, you can save to any file format, including an Excel spreadsheet, but it's coming from the data that's in the project. It's not starting at the Excel spreadsheet level. It's grabbing the data that's in the project, and then you can export that data to an Excel spreadsheet, an Access database file, TXT file, whatever you want.
Right. So one of the awesome things about AutoCAD Electrical is that we keep all the information within that project. We're not relying on external MDB files or Excel files to be able to run those reports.
Exactly.
Cool. Then Jeffrey got a question. When you were messing around, doing the two sections of the reports because it wouldn't fit, properly on the same page, why wouldn't you just pick the bottom of the report that's on the drawing and move it up? I'm not quite sure I completely understand that one.
Well, the reason why I don't is because I'd have to do it every single time.
Right.
So I insert the report. I believe this is what they're asking. So now I break it up into a different section. That's, you know, part of the AutoCAD table modify command. And that works, as you can see, but I'd have to do that every single time I wanted to insert the same report. And if I go to update it, it's going to go back to the way it was originally as well. So that's
Right.
why.
So the concept is to keep these configurations going, so you don't have to think about the silly stuff.
Yeah, you don't want to have to manually change that each time you insert a report.
Right. And then just a couple questions of people that jumped on late. As Ashley said before, you will receive an email tomorrow with a link to this webinar. And obviously, you know, feel free to forward that to anybody on your team or anybody that you think might be interested. That's all we have. And Ashley, I'm going to send this back over to you.
Okay, well, thank you for the presentation, Greg. Thanks for joining us, Julia, to help with questions. Thank you all for attending today. And we'll go ahead and wrap things up, but thank you
And
for
if
coming.
you do, sorry, Ashley, if you do have further questions, please let us know and we can get back to you. Let Ashley know, or let me, Julie, however, you can contact Hagerman if you got further questions. Absolutely, let us know.
And
Yes,
I apologize. A couple questions just came in really quick. If we've got a couple minutes, just a minute. Let's see. Kevin wanted to know, can the reports be saved to a specific folder in Autodesk Vault, or is it best to save it to the local computer and then move the files into the Vault? Yes, you want to save those either off to a network location, or you could save it to your Vault local workspace. And then you're going to want to check them in from there. We do not write files. We do not write report files directly into Autodesk Vault. So that's that one. And then the next one, for some of those report settings, we can set those defaults in the set file. For instance, we have specific table styles, BOM panel set has text equals the ESP schedule. Same with host process user post. I'm not sure that's necessarily a question. Greg and I will take a look at that after the webinar and get back. Now I think we're done.
Okay.
Okay. Yeah, and if you think of questions later, you can simply reply to that confirmation or reminder email you receive from GoToWebinar, and we can get those to Greg or your sales rep to get them answered. And I don't see anything else popping in, so we'll go ahead and close for today, but thanks for attending and have a great day, everybody.